welcome to Landria Onkka on YouTube, here to help you break through those fears and live an awesome life. Still trying to get those microphones to work again, so hopefully there's not too much of an echo in here. Let's talk today about the story you tell yourself. I've got a couple of videos. I'm going to start doing some videos with you guys that are going to take portions of my e-course called Breakthrough Fear and just really work on some small pieces that could help you shift your energy. A lot of times we think that we're shifting our energy, and we're really not. We're really reenacting the same things over and over again. I'll give you an example. Let's say you are single and you keep dating the same kind of person that is not respectful to you. And so you decide that you're going to break the pattern of dating somebody that does certain things, or, just it's pretty obvious. So you meet somebody new and they're very different. They're very different. And then you start to date them. And stuff starts to happen, and but you're very patient, and you open yourself up to that person in the relationship, and you're trying to really make it work because you have to shift your energy. Be careful of the story you're telling yourself. What can happen is we're actually doing the same thing, and we're masking it with another person, another job, but the pattern is remaining the same. Do you understand what I'm going on about? Because a lot of times we will tell ourselves that our lives have completely shifted. Let's say you're in a job and you start a new business. You decide you want to be a business owner. And you go and you give up everything that you hated, working the 9 to 5, all that stuff, and then you go over and you start that, and you finally start your own business, and you do all the things that you've wanted to do. But things aren't working quite right. Take a look at everything and ask yourself if you are not applying the same patterns and habits that were not working in your favor at the job and applying them in the business. Often we're disguising the same energetic patterns with something else and believing that we're shifting it, changing it, when the behavior behind each of these situations is changing. All right? Again, I'm dating somebody very new, they're wonderful, all this stuff, they're not like that other person, and then you find yourself doing your same energetic patterns with that person. Maybe they're not at all like the other person, but your patterns of putting up with garbage, making excuses for the person, staying in when it's just not working, and you're trying to make something right when it's not right. And even if the person's really nice, you say, well, this person does respect me, but you're trying to make something work that doesn't, because that's what you do. You keep trying to make things work that aren't right for you. It's still the same pattern. This is a little bit more of a complex video today, because we have the tendency to not be able to see our own energetic patterns. And ask yourself, if things are still not working, are you the person behind those patterns? Are you the person behind that energy? The answer is yes. We're always the energy behind what's happening in our lives, because we're driving that force. Then we bring all the other ones in. Now, I'll give you an example. If you are an energetic match with something higher than what you've been doing, it's possible that the same old stuff will still show up. The difference, the new stuff will show up because you're resonating at a higher frequency. You'll resonate with higher people, more integrity, giving, all these good things. Then you shift into that energy. But here's what's going to happen. The world still has all those other lower frequencies walking around, even if you're not resonating with them. Be careful not to make a choice back into that, because you're familiar with it. Because even if you're resonating up here, it's even worse of a mismatch. These people on a lower frequency will still be in your life, walking around. You just have to start making the higher choices. So let's say you consistently pick a certain type of person that's not good for you. They're nice people. Let's say they're really nice. It's not like they're jerks. It's like not obvious. But let's say you're always picking relationships that aren't good for you. And so you raise your frequency, you're feeling confident, you're feeling good. You don't ever want to go back to those situations where you're trying to make something work that doesn't, and that you're okay with this new life. And so you start to attract other people on the higher frequency that really do resonate on a more positive, higher frequency, and you're changing that energy, you're changing those patterns. Just be cautious, because we will gravitate sometimes toward the old patterns. Sometimes you're doing it just to sort of reinforce that you're done with it. And well, I've seen a lot of people, they go up to this frequency, they're dating all the right people, or they have all the right jobs or whatever, and they still will go back into those familiar turfs, and until they figure out that it's just not matching their frequency, it doesn't feel good because it's familiar. You're still in the driver's seat of everything. So that energy behind everything has to completely shift if you want to change your life. Changing the patterns, the actual patterns behind what's here. Well, I'm doing a completely different job now. I made that change. I got out of that industry that I hated. But if you go into another industry, you make that change, and the patterns and behaviors behind it that you're conducting are the same. You have not really shifted your energy behind it. You've just taken the same, let's say the same habits and frequencies and shifted them over. And they just have a different label on. They look different. I hope this is making sense, because I see this happen a lot where people think that they're making these big shifts, but their habits and patterns and their energy behind it is exactly the same than if they were in something else. So let's say, again, let's say you were a teacher or something, and then you hated that, and you go and you start your own business. And there were some really negative patterns over here. And you go over, you start your business, and those negative patterns are still there. Even though you think you're shifting everything behind it, the thoughts, the stories, the actions, have got to completely change for you to break away from all of that stuff that doesn't work for you. And so I see a lot of people, they're thinking, well, I'm making all the change, I'm doing all this stuff, but I see them actually acting and thinking the same way behind this, whatever it is they've changed. And a lot of it looks like they've made huge changes, when in actuality they've only repainted the door, the front door. Everything that's behind that door is the same, right? So be careful of that. Ask yourself, if you have shifted into a new situation, you think, wow, I really am making better choices or whatever, yet you see the same issues coming up, then it's probably you with that same energy doing the same types of things in just a new situation. You repainted the door and it looks pretty and different, but what's behind it needs to be decluttered and cleaned up. Ask yourself what patterns you're doing every day, including your thinking patterns, your actions, the stories you tell yourself. We're going to do a video after this, the stories we tell ourselves. And make sure that when you shift that energy, and you really do know that you're shifting, that you still don't gravitate back toward the old habits, the old choices, the old situations that just are familiar, because that's going to be even a bigger mismatch if your energy's up here. So again, when you raise your frequency, as I keep telling everybody, and you go into a more awakened state, doesn't mean everything just goes away and everything's perfect and all this other stuff. We still have these human things we have to work through. We all have work to do. I know I do. Always. And you'll shift in places in your life where everything's great, your thinking's clear, you're in a super awakened state, and then there'll be some triggers that happen, and you find yourself maybe not being that awakened person. So when that happens, that's when we have to be most cognizant of what we're doing with our energy. And we have to work on that, shift that energy up, recognize what's taking place, and take responsibility for that energy. All right? Things aren't always that obvious. Energy is something that we feel, shift into. Continue to work on you, raising your frequency, and recognizing what's happening in your life, and everything behind that is still you making a choice every single day. So I hope that made sense. I know a lot of you really can resonate with this. You're going, oh yeah, I think I made all these changes and things aren't quite working. What is that? You know, take a real good look at your energy, and if you really have shifted or you've just put a new label on it. Again, not everything has to be blatantly bad or negative for you to recognize that it doesn't work for you. You can have the nicest people, bosses, jobs, relationships in your life, but it doesn't mean that's what works for you. Right? It doesn't have to be somebody that treats you bad or doesn't pay you enough or whatever for you to have to make a decision to switch. I think we always think we only have to switch when things are bad. That's not true. You can switch when things aren't resonating if you just feel like it's not where you need to be. All right, so I hope this helps you understand the deeper level of how energy works and how we can get stuck in energetic patterns. Even as wonderful, good people doing right things, and we don't see things changing the way we'd like, that would be the first place to look and to recognize it's always coming within you, and everything is a choice from you. You are whole and perfect, strong, powerful, loving, harmonious, and happy. Blessings, my friend. Namaste.